Hi everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Growing Further podcast. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Susan Carroll, who has set up the Young Entrepreneurs Club here in Dublin. Susan was working very happily in a rewarding career as a primary school teacher, but she spotted an opportunity she couldn't resist to teach kids about financial literacy, the fundamentals of business and entrepreneurship in a really fun environment. It's an excellent episode, and I really hope you enjoy it. Hi Susan, thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, and delighted to be here.
You're the boss and CEO of the Young Entrepreneurs Club, so tell us a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, so the Young Entrepreneurs Club is a project-based approach to teaching the entrepreneurial mindset to children from the age of 4.
Okay.
So, yeah, very
Small kids.
Yeah, and it is, I do get an interesting reaction from parents who think, you know, your kid's going to an entrepreneurship club at age 4, but it really is about harnessing that natural imagination, creativity, and expanding that. They might describe a favourite toy that they have and talk about a world they'd like to create for us. So really pitching ideas from a young age, and public speaking. So it's not a daunting thing then when they get older, because they've always been doing it.
Yeah. And with a kind of a slant on the business side of things as well, so
Yes.
marrying those two things?
Yes, exactly. We might do things like playing shop. It's really more an emphasis on confidence building, teamwork, problem solving. You know, we'll do little games and figure that there's more than one way to approach something.
Okay, well, I think it's a pretty important area, so we'll get into the structure and how it works, and I'm sure some hilarity you have with the kids as well.
Yeah.
And I've an 11-year-old nephew of mine who's very business savvy. He just told me he made his first €400 investments in the stocks and shares in January. So he would be ideal for your program.
Very
So,
impressive.
Rory,
yeah.
if you're watching, I've got the contact for you.
He'll be teaching something to me, you know. This is great.
I'm petrified of him. Yeah, he's going to
He
run the
could
world.
come in and do a workshop someday with us. That'd
could.
be great. I love empowering kids like that. You teach us.
No better man. He doesn't need any empowerment, this guy. But what brought you to this path? So what's your kind of, where'd you grow up? Who are you? What was life like growing up?
Life was great fun. I came from a very, how do I phrase it, playful family.
Okay.
There's just a bunch of kids, and that would be me now. I'm just a big kid, and I love being around that energy. I love the joy that children have, their approach to the world. It's fantastic. And I suppose I've always kind of kept that in me. I've always taught sport to kids, and I did something very random in college, classical civilization and French. Don't know where I intended that to go.
Not
but
very childlike, there you go.
Not like, no. But I went over to India with a fantastic organisation called SUS, and I taught English and maths to children in New Delhi. Absolutely loved it. So I came home and signed up for the postgraduate in Freble.
Okay.
Immediately.
Your classics in French weren't the most employable launch pad for a career?
When
no?
they said, congratulations, you're a classicist, I said, what's that exactly?
Yeah.
But sure, look, it was a fantastic way to spend a couple of years. And as my parents said, look, just go and do something you enjoy in college.
Yeah.
You need to just learn how to write an essay, have a bit of fun, and get the experience.
And
you'll decide what you want to do later.
The social development side is
The social
huge.
development, absolutely, massive. Yeah, and joining societies and clubs of your interests and exploring those. Because, I mean, how are you meant to know when you're 18 what you want to do for the rest of your life?
Yeah, impossible.
Yeah.
Well, very, very few people. I think there's more of a appreciation for that these days, isn't there?
I agree, and I definitely think kind of the education system understanding that there's a realisation there's more to life than just textbooks, and, you know, people can explore different journeys and different paths.
From my knowledge, the move in university, third level education is more towards general degrees and being able to pick and choose kind of subjects from different departments entirely, and give people that more rounded education, which is
exactly more options. Yeah.
Tell us about India. That sounds like an exciting thing.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah. Absolutely love India. It's a magical country full of chaos and colour and wonder. And it was a fantastic experience. And the fact that it led to what ended up becoming my career, you know, really was quite fundamental.
So you went over there, you're kind of mid-20s, something like that?
Yeah. I think I was 21, 22. And it just...
Stage 5 culture shock.
Absolutely. Yeah. The sights, the sounds, the smells. It was just... It's mesmerising.
Yeah.
I haven't been back since I went to then Kolkata with a group of teachers with the Hope Foundation, and again that was a great experience.
And what was the story over there? What were you over there to do?
Yeah,
teach kids?
So we were volunteering to teach the kids in slum areas. So it really was very rough and ready. There were times where every day I had to shake out my backpack at the end of the day so that the rats would leave. I know.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah,
That'd be
before
me.
then going home. So,
Well, I definitely won't go back either. If that
yeah,
was me.
it was brilliant. No, I would definitely go back. I haven't had the opportunity, unfortunately, but it was just incredible. It was really rough and ready. And I learned a lot from the experience.
Yeah. And was that your first time kind of teaching kids, or?
Yeah, it was. Like, I've always taught sports, love sports, gymnastics for years, basketball, tennis, swimming, anything I could. So I think I was naturally gravitating towards teaching kids.
Yeah.
Always had that experience, but I never thought about actually becoming a teacher. It wasn't something I grew up
It's what
believing
you're
I would be.
doing for fun on the
Yeah,
side.
yeah, exactly. And then stayed in teaching, absolutely loved it.
That was a bit of a light bulb moment for you in India, saying, okay,
Definitely.
there could be something that's for me. Okay. And senior school, junior school, what level were you at?
Junior school.
Junior school,
Yeah, so I
okay.
always taught primary school, and I kind of flitted about a few different schools doing short-term contracts, substitute work. That was at a time where it was actually hard to get a job, a teaching job.
Yeah.
And then
There's screaming out for teachers now.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. And I have been in a school for the last 10 years, absolutely loved it. And I was that person who always talked about their job. I don't have kids myself, but, I'd be out and I'd say, oh, my kids made, which they did, my entrepreneur students made these. But
Cool.
I would say, oh, my kids made these. And they said, how many kids do you have? I'd say, well, I have 29 this year. Get some
Getting some
baffled
looks,
looks.
yeah.
They
Kept the
do.
figure after 29 kids. Well done.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. Yes, but you take them on as yours. Well, I
Yeah.
certainly did. I was very attached to all of the kids that I taught, and they do stay with you. I still see a lot of them. They're doing their leaving cert. They're in college now, which makes you feel pretty old pretty quickly. But
You bump into them in the pub. That really.
I know
makes
it's bizarre. I've seen them on nights out. Going,
Yeah.
what are you doing here? You're only 7.
But I think particularly your primary school teachers are a huge influence, and they have a massive impact in your life. I mean, you never forget your junior school teachers. You're with them for so long. It's such formative years. It's a big important job.
Absolutely, and you do need to be aware of that as a teacher. That influence, I suppose, you can have, and the impact of your words.
Because it's the first let's say, parental or guardian, I suppose, big figure in your life is your teacher, isn't it?
Exactly. And they do hang on your every word and action to a certain extent. Like, they are at that age. I taught 4th class for the last while, and they're just the most, I find it such a magical age. They're at a junction of babies to teenagers.
Yeah.
It really was an interesting crossroads, and I absolutely loved it. They just gave me so much joy. So it wasn't work.
Yeah.
I was going out there to hang out with them, and I was a very playful teacher, and I think that's what led into the entrepreneurship side of things. If we were doing maths and I found a child was struggling, I'd say, right, come on, let's get out the paint. You're not getting symmetry. That's fine. Let's fold a piece of paper in half, squeeze a load of paint on, fold it, there's symmetry. Or let's do yoga to show angles, or let's go to the playground to look at various different lines, just experiential.
Yeah, well, I have a daughter in senior infants now, and I hadn't set foot in a primary school since my own days, which is
natural.
Decades ago. I was like, it's such a different environment. It's so kind of colourful and bright and welcoming, and kind of, it's not that my school is austere, but it's just different, It
was a different time.
Yeah.
And now, in our school we've got a student council. The kids are being given leadership opportunities, and I love that. And they're spreading joy. There's a Beacon Alta policy now, and anti-bullying, and it's the kids who are enforcing it.
Yeah.
Which is lovely. They're taking ownership of not just organising activities, but actually imparting a social awareness, shall I say, or an emotional side of things to school. It's lovely.
Okay. And there was a thing in the Irish Times, I think about 2 weeks ago, a teacher had written a letter to the editor saying that they're noticing big differences in kids coming in now. They think probably the influence of screen time and perhaps a COVID kind of hangover thing, but the kids are less able to engage or do kind of basic skills. Like, is that fair, or your experience, or did things change between when the start of your tenure period and the end of your tenure period? Did you see a big change?
Yeah, I do, I suppose. Yeah, there is definitely an element to that. And do you know, I did say to a class before, I can tell who gets their screens during the week. And I said, actually, before you tell me, give me a second. And I got the attendance list, and I marked down the kids who I could tell only get it at the weekend. I said, now hands up if you only get it at the weekend, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday screen time. And I was like, yeah. I could tell by their focus capacity, the kind of ability to engage for longer than 5 minutes.
Really, yeah.
Even at the age of 9 and 10, which was quite incredible. I surprised myself now with that. But I also said I can tell who does their homework at a study desk, not in the car.
Yeah.
There's elements like that. But yeah, I think it's having an impact. I think COVID had a more lasting impact than we gave it credit for. Kids missed out on those social opportunities.
Yeah.
They missed out on certain learning elements. Kids who missed junior and senior infants, the teachers did an incredible job to keep on top of it. Parents did a great job doing homeschooling.
Yeah.
But there's basic phonic elements that may have been missed or gained at a later age.
Phonics being the ability to pronounce
sounds, making the sounds, and also Irish.
I didn't know what phonics was until last year when homework started coming home. Yeah,
that's very
I'm an
true.
expert now.
Yeah, where you're saying ball.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I think that's a really interesting topic, and for me, for sure, with kids of that kind of age. I mean, you hope you do your best for your kids, but the reality is most people have to have two parents working these days.
Exactly.
It's a luxury now to have someone staying at home quite often, so it's a real juggling act trying to do best by your kids. So what works well structure wise, I mean, there's after school clubs and this kind of stuff, but what's the best?
Kids are busy.
Yeah,
they're really busy these days. They have a kind of full schedule during the week, some of them at the weekends as well. One of the kids told me the other day she's busy from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the weekend.
Wow.
I thought, wow, do you ever get a rest?
That's intense,
even at that age, you do need your brain to switch off. But it suits parents, for collection and things like that. And yes, they are busier. There's less kind of story time at home. There's more nannies collecting, childminders. And look, that's the nature of a changing environment. But, perhaps there is an impact there.
Yeah. And what has been news to me at a few kind of parent-teacher meetings and stuff, there's less of a focus on homework. A lot of schools are dropping it entirely. Maybe not a lot, but certain schools are dropping it entirely as a requirement. And they feel if the kids are focused on it in the school day, that there's enough being done. The school my daughter's in hasn't gotten that far, but they're like, well, focus on the reading. The other stuff is kind of nice to have, but reading is the thing to have. And they said, what was the quote from the principal? There was a lot of unnecessary homework happening in the past. I was like, I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew I was getting loads of unnecessary homework. But is that something you came across?
And you know what? It's a contentious issue. There's people fighting for, no homework. It's generally the parents who don't want to have to do it at home, or maybe the kids are like, oh, I hate homework. Teachers don't want to correct it either,
I'm sure, people.
I do find that a small amount, first of all, consolidates the work being done in the classroom that day. It helps parents to engage with what the children are learning.
Yeah.
So they know that they're learning about farm animals and Irish. At least they might have a little discussion on the way in the car, or they're learning multiplication tables. They could quiz them on the way in the car, have a little game together, stick on the times table CD. It also gets them ready for consistent practice. So if they go to do their junior cert or leaving cert, they're going to need to consistently do a little bit of work every day in order to achieve a goal. So getting them in the system and it's really, if you can do a small amount, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, that's it.
Yeah.
Just a small amount of, this is the work I do just to have my own time, time management as well.
Yeah.
The kids can say, well, I'll do it at 3 o'clock the minute I get home, and then it's done. So that's an approach they're making. Someone else might say, oh God, I haven't done. I'll have my dinner and then do it at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And they learn from that too. I think kids need opportunities to be independent, make their own decisions, learn from their mistakes. What I used to do as a 4th class teacher was I'd give all their homework on a Monday. I said, you decide.
Yeah.
I don't care when it's done, but bring it in to me by Friday. I don't want to see it before, so it's totally up to you. You can do it all Monday, all Tuesday, all Thursday. Don't recommend that.
Yeah.
But it's
Friday
helping
on the way
them.
in the car.
And there was a lot of learning in it. I had kids coming in to me going, I used to do it all Thursday evening, but that was so tiring and I didn't get it done. I was still doing it in the car Friday morning. So what I thought I'd do was I'd split it into, they decided that.
Yeah.
And I love that. And you've got to make mistakes to learn. And I think kids don't get that opportunity to make gentle mistakes.
Yeah.
And even in the Entrepreneurship Club, we say that they're not really mistakes, they're learning opportunities. And I thank them for having learning opportunities. And they fire their hand up saying, oh, my price point for the fair last time was completely off, And we were like, well, what did you learn from that? Oh, that's really great. Thank you. Because now we know, well, don't charge a $5 for a cookie.
Yeah.
People aren't going to buy it, and it's no offense to you. It's not a personal thing. You're not taking this harshly. it's people are not going to spend €5 on a cookie.
It's business.
Unless it's a magic cookie.
Yeah.
So.
Unless it's the size of your head. Well,
Exactly, yeah.
And otherwise it's charity, so that's not what they're after.
Precisely. And we do actually support charities. We give back. I always say, when you're doing well or if you're making a profit, it's important to give back where you can. And we support Barrettstown. So they were really great and they gave a certain amount of their profits over to Barrettstown after their Christmas fair. So we're still actually finishing collecting all of that in January and about to make our donations. So
cool. Well,
nice attitude.
Do you think, I don't want to stick with the primary education probably because it's really interesting
for
me, but there are other parents I know from different countries here in Dublin, and they're like, I think it's very bizarre that there's single sex kind of schools. What's you've taught in a all girls school, so what's your take on that? Have you any?
I've taught in both. I suppose I went to a single sex school for primary and secondary, and I probably would have liked, especially for primary, the mixed setup. For secondary, there was a bit of a union of girls, and it was great. There was quite it was wonderful not having the distraction, I suppose, because at that age they can be distracting.
Yeah. Both ways for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So perhaps I would admire primary mixed sex schools and perhaps the split, but again, that's just my own take on things. I'm sure people have better researched
there's PhDs done about this and everything.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's just it's an interesting kind of thing. It's I guess I went to a boys' secondary school, but then a mixed primary school, and that was great. It's different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
So what led you to this current path? You have set up this entrepreneur club, so you're not full-time teaching anymore.
Correct.
Before we get into the business and how that works, setting up a business, was that something that was in your head that you'd like to do, or something just happened?
Yeah, I've always been a bit mad on the ideas. Forever coming up with some newfangled invention or service or product. I'd say I drove my parents mad. I'd be like, I have an idea. And they're like, oh, Jesus,
some
not
people
again.
can't get an idea to save their lives. So,
oh, God. Oh, no, like 3:17 seems to be my optimum time. AM. Sorry, 3:17 AM. I have an idea. I have to write it down or I'll forget it. And so much so that my mum used to kind of go, do you know who'd love to hear about that? And she'd fob me off. My aunt is very into entrepreneurship and she would send me off and go, do you know what? Anne'd love to hear about that. And I'm saying, are you deflecting me? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Go talk to her because we're done. And I'd be like, do you know what? We should have this or there should be this. And I think I was always trying to help to improve.
Okay.
I remember when I was working in Brown Thomas when I was about 19. I slipped into Bewley's. They were just closing. And I was like, oh, babe, please, can I have a coffee? So I sat down. They said, do you want any pastries? I was like, no, you're grand, thanks. And they said, well, do you want a free croissant? And I thought, yeah.
The price
great,
is right,
happy days. And they said, do you want 12? I was like, how starved do I look? No, I don't want 12. I said, why 12? I said, well, we're going to be throwing them out anyway.
Yeah.
I said, I've just passed 4 homeless people. We just give it to them. You can throw out all your food. And I thought, this is an absolute disgrace. So I said, is that happening everywhere? Cafe Sol, all these. And I said, could I go round and just collect up all this stuff and give it to them? And they said, well, that's not really allowed. Like if the stuff expires. I said, come on. So from then I was like, there has to be a better way. There is now, thankfully. I think Food Cloud have kind of set this exact. But I was always itching to do something and I was forever kind of spotting little gaps and saying, I could do that better or I could fix that or I could make that more accessible. Yeah. That makes no sense, exactly. And I suppose that's the kind of attitude in the class that we're trying to get across. And I set up an after-school club with it, while I was teaching, and I was doing that for about 2 years. And then I got invited to speak at the Women in STEM conference in Croke Park last year. And, people were saying this should be everywhere. Yeah. So took the career break and made it the full-time job.
And what did the after school club, that's what became the Entrepreneur Club?
Exactly, yeah. Okay. So that was the Young Entrepreneurs Club. It was for an hour in the school and then the parents could collect an hour later. Okay. So that's still the model we operate. I go into a school, the kids stay for 1 more hour and the parents collected 4 instead of 3. And
what was the problem you identified or the thing that didn't make sense that led to this Young Entrepreneur Club?
Well, I suppose, as I said, I was a very playful teacher. So, like there's times where I'd be standing on all the tables and I'd get 6 kids down to make a hexagon shape on the floor and I'd take a bird's eye photo,
Okay.
So just wanted
I'm
to...
thinking Robin Williams and Dead Poets Society
Exactly.
here. Oh,
Yeah.
Captain,
There you go. That's my role model now.
yeah.
But it was that experiential, child-centered. Look, I was trained in Frebel. Frebel is very much never mind the textbooks.
Oh, really?
You want to teach a kid how a flower grows, give them seed, bring them to the garden.
Okay.
It's very hands-on, engaged.
Experiential, fun.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Fun. I want their association with learning and school to be positive. I want them to want to come to school, because if kids are happy, supported, safe, confident, they'll learn anything.
Yeah.
If you're happy in an environment, you're going to want to stay there. So they're much more engaged when they're happy. So yeah, there was a lot of elements of that I brought into the Entrepreneurs Club. The real world experiences. Again, like I actually teach Leaving Cert maths and English to children with various additional needs or neurodivergence, and they'd be forever asking me like, when am I ever going to need this?
Yeah.
Algebra, trigonometry. And I do, I feel
like,
for them.
Look at my classics degree.
Exactly, yeah. So I'd be saying, well, I suppose engineering, statistics, yeah. But I was trying to make it applicable to real world. I said, well, if you want to figure this out, you're going to need this. So I thought I'd just bring that to a lower level with the junior school kids and say, we'd find pattern in nature, we'd find pattern in our clothes. So that's why we're learning about pattern and symmetry. And then eventually they get on to, the first common difference is the same, thus it's a certain type of sequence, and I said, and I used to teach them things that were, as I say, way above their pay grade. I said, but at least I've planted the seed now, so when you get taught this in junior cert,
there's a familiarity with it then.
Exactly, that it'll be like, oh, we learned about this in 4th class.
Yeah.
Oh, don't tell them.
I think maths loses a lot of people when you abandon the numbers and go towards the letters. That's where people are like, whoosh. So at least you've sowed that seed early.
I have. Now, I do have to say, I teach a lot of children, like on outside of school as well, with dyslexia, and their strength was numbers. Because they thought, I don't have to read anything. It's great. Every other subject I have to read. Numbers are my thing. And now suddenly, and I can see why they did it. Junior cycle, it's more about the conversation of maths, the application to the real world. But now they have to read the story to create a numerical sentence.
Yeah, okay.
So I feel for them in that way. It's a bit more challenging. Again, it makes sense on the whole if you look at the bigger picture. Instead of talking about a graph and just going straight into it, they talk about Rory McIlroy getting up on the tee at the Ryder Cup and placing his ball 2 inches off the ground, and then it exponentially grows to the apex. I can see that they're trying to show that maths exists in the real world.
The real world, yeah. It's not just text on a page,
exactly.
Black and white. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're doing this after school club. When did you think there could be a business in this?
Yeah. I suppose the Women in STEM thing gave me a great push, and I've had some great...
So tell us what that's all about.
Yeah. So the Women in STEM is a conference in Croke Park. Well, they have awards in the Mansion House as well in October. They're a great organisation. They're run by the Business Post. And a friend of mine, Sarah Murphy, she saw something in me that I didn't see. And she used to bring me to events. I said, why am I here? Right. I'm a primary school teacher. I'm sitting beside Nora Casey. Right. Like, the imposter syndrome is alarming right now, And she said, this is where you belong. You are frothing at the mouth with ideas. You need to go down this route. And I thought, wow, okay. And I really valued her opinion, and I valued her support. I do, and the kindness and the fact that she really reached out to push me. And there's been many people like that. And I've been so pleasantly surprised throughout this journey by the kindness and the outreach of people to go, do you know who you should talk to? You yourself, you did it yourself, but people naturally do it. And it's lovely, but it's so appreciated.
Well, it gives people that... what's the word? Dopamine hit. If you help someone else, it's just human nature.
Well, that's true, exactly. And I've had that feeling when I've passed on, connections to other people. Say, do you know, you should talk to this person. And you're not doing it for any kind of self-gain, but you do get something from it as well. And I think in Ireland it's great because everyone knows everyone, and they're only one coffee away from someone, and there is a lovely vibe, and people do generally want to help people. I don't know whether it's too much experience around kids, but I generally have this blind faith or complete optimism or ridiculous positive attitude that people are inherently good.
Yeah.
I've been called very naive.
A lot of people lose that over their life.
Yeah,
so
well, I think, as someone
that.
said, if you're getting into business, you're going to need to maybe cop on a little bit, that not everyone is good. I can't see it yet, so I've been lucky.
And what, from a structure point of view, what is it you're doing with the kids? And what, I guess, what gap are you filling that you think that wasn't there?
Yeah.
Being satisfied before?
I suppose, look, there's a heavy curriculum in schools. There's a lot to get done in a day. And schools are under pressure to achieve the targets, get things done.
The kicker is coming in to make sure everything's being done.
Exactly. Yeah. And, there just wasn't the same amount of space for a bit of problem solving. Give them the time to figure it out. And the new maths curriculum is doing that now. It's saying give the kids time to figure out. Don't just say you've got 2 minutes and that's it. Let them stir a little bit. Let them think outside the box. And I always did kind of think outside the box activities as well. The 1% Club on TV.
Right,
they've great, it's fantastic. And they've great puzzles. But I'll fire one of those to the kids. Just have it up on the board and they can be working away, the kids that need a bit of challenge to that. But the structure itself, I suppose, they imagine. So it's a lot to do with an empathy-based approach. So we might take, for example, there's a little boy who's in a wheelchair and he can't play on the same playground items that his friends can. And the friends are getting frustrated for him. They're sad for him. It's the feelings, because it generally problems come about because of feelings-based approach. So they might say, I'm frustrated for him. I'm sad for him. I want him to be involved. So what do we do? And we might create a problem like this, a fictitious problem. What do we do? Design. Right, let's design a playground that incorporates his wheelchair. So there might be a spin-about item that his wheelchair can come onto. So they design it and we might physically make it. So I suppose at the moment, we haven't had the time to get the full structure in place. So at the moment, they are more about designing their own products.
Yeah. But if that's space, that ability to think about a bigger project and draw on their own experience, which is limited, but if playground, they've loads of experience.
Exactly.
I guess,
and thinking outside themselves,
And group-based, or do you tend to do it individually?
Again, when it comes to products, it might be just themselves or in pairs or in groups. Again, they have to navigate the peer dynamics if it's in groups. And I do a lot of leaving them at it. You decide. You want to be on your own, you take control of everything, but you're doing everything. You want to be in a pair and, discuss like co-founders, make decisions together. Is it harder to make decisions together? Is it easier? It's up to you. And sometimes they will call me in to kind of go, we can't decide on this. So I will sit there as a kind of silent moderator. I said, well, you guys discuss. And if I feel you need a suggestion, I'll offer it. I've very much kind of always been the guide on the side rather than the sage on the stage.
Okay.
I kind of point kids in the direction of, here are the resources within which you can find the answer. I'm not going to tell you the answer because there's no point. You're not really going to learn a lot out of that. And you'll forget it a minute later. But if you found it for yourself, that will build confidence.
Yeah.
That will empower you. And then you'll do it again the next time naturally. You won't be waiting for someone else's help. We're big on initiative in the Young Entrepreneurs Club.
Are there kind of traits you see amongst kids? Like, do kids surprise you with what they come up with?
Yes.
Is there certain kids, are surprised that they're not into it? Or like, what's that? Because there's such big personalities and big emotions at those younger ages in particular.
Absolutely. My greatest surprise, I don't know, am I actually surprised? But watching the kids who find a traditional classroom setting most challenging. Yeah. You might have children with learning needs, whatever additional needs they have, whether it's neurodivergence, where someone that just doesn't find that classroom environment necessarily easy. They thrive in the creative, open space that is the Entrepreneurs Club. And I love that. And I've seen kids that I have during the day in 4th class, and they're very quiet, very reserved, very anxious about talking to people. Then they're in the Entrepreneurs Club. There's no stopping them. And then they're at a fair and they're chatting with customers. I'm going, this is why I do it. This is amazing. I'm watching this child with the confidence to chat away with people they don't even know. They're coming up with discounts that I didn't know they could do in maths. I said, sorry, where was that earlier? Yeah. But suddenly they're like, buy one, get 50% off the next. I'm like, 50% off? What have you? Great. But it's brilliant. And I suppose that is what it's all about, because it's not about business. It's about belief. It's about confidence.
Yeah.
It's about them being able to walk away saying, I can do this. My ideas matter. My voice matters. And I can create something.
Yeah. I remember when I went into secondary school, one of the teachers said to, the guys at the top of the A class that was streaming back in those days, is like, you might think you're great, but mark my words, you'll end up working for the guys who are in the bottom of the C class in years to come. They'll be the entrepreneurs, they'll set up the businesses. You guys, you'll probably become accountants, lawyers, whatever, and they'll be your clients, basically. You'll end up working for them, and these are the guys. But I guess what you're trying to do, is to show people early in life that there's a different path.
Exactly. There's a different way of thinking. And you know what? Kids who have dyslexia, dyscalculia, autism, ADHD, they are used to thinking outside the box. They have to just subconsciously navigate.
And, sorry, what that teacher said was 100% true. The really successful people have really set up their own businesses and had the chutzpah to go for it.
Absolutely. And they have to think outside the box. They have to create something. And they are the ones who get into the consumer mindset. I find kids who really, really struggle during the day are suddenly going, if I'm selling to 6-year-olds, then I'll make slime. But if I'm selling to adults, I'll make handmade cards, because they think we're so cute when they do that. And they know what their parents want. Well, I'll make candles and soaps for the adults, but I'll make slime and jelly cups for the kids.
Fake snots. Yeah.
Like, brilliant. And it's funny, they'd be sitting there then having their lunch chatting about their profit margin.
Yeah.
What's your unit price? My unit price is this. And I just think this is hilarious. The jargon, does get thrown in.
Yeah.
And I don't force it on them. I just say it once, and it's amazing how they take it on, and suddenly that's their little metric.
It's in their vernacular.
Exactly, yeah, it's there. But that real world, I suppose, awareness, they're understanding their environment more.
And I think something we've talked about on this podcast before with a couple of people is a huge issue with financial literacy amongst the adult population, let alone kids. So schools aren't really filling that gap. There's a little bits and bobs done maybe in transition year, I guess.
Yeah.
But this is a great way to introduce kids to the value of money very early in life.
It's very hard for them at the moment because they're tapping a card. The money's invisible.
Yeah.
And they're actually, a lot of them have their own Revolut cards that their parents then drip feed the money into. And they're just tapping a thing. Sure, there's no counting out coins.
Yeah.
I actually went to a shop recently and I gave in cash because I don't know where it did, but I don't usually have cash, and I gave it in. The guy counting out afterwards, he was really and he must have been in his 20s. He's got, hang on.
What is this?
20, 40. It just, you forget that.
So abstract now.
It's so abstract now, and the kids aren't getting that experience with money like that. And again, look, we have our fairs, and I do say to parents in advance, if you can bring change and cash, I know it's a nuisance, but I really want them to have the experience of counting. Sure, look, I love maths. I love teaching maths. So their ability to count in 10s and 20s is something I value.
Yeah.
And some of them now, in fairness, are a bit tech savvy. And I had one fair where the guy had printed out, it's only about 8, printed out his mum's QR code for her Revolut.
Okay.
Which was incredible. And I thought that was so clever.
Good route to market there.
It's the way we're going, And they were able to scan it and pay it. And I just thought, realistically, that's where we're going. So the opportunities aren't there for them to use it in the real world. But what I do is, and again, I have an app that we launched before Christmas, and it's encouraging them to think like an entrepreneur. Okay. And the online, I'm bringing the whole platform on, or the whole program online as well. And there's a budgeting calculator there. So they might be given €20 for their lemonade stand. How do they budget it? How much are they spending on lemons, sugar, cups and whatever? Yeah. And then they win coins, and the coins might allow them to have a different shape stall or new kind of prettier cups. And, so it's helping them budget fictitious money,
Because it's what pops into my head then is you're going to Lansdowne Road or Croke Park for a match, and you still see kids with getting a table out and some chairs and trying to
One
sell.
of my own students did a great job. She has her granny lives on Bath Avenue, and she has a table down the end of the garden just as all the rugby crew are going down. One sausage roll for €3, 2 for £5. Of course you get the 2. And I just thought, well, fair play to her. And she was able to come in and share her success story. And that's something that the online platform that I'm creating at the moment, it's going to be an international it's going to be internationally accessible, I suppose, because I've had a lot of interest from Singapore and Dubai. Okay. And I said, I can't be on site facilitating workshops there. But if I bring it all online, then anyone can access it, because that's what I want. I want that mindset to be available to every child.
So you have those ambitions at this early stage of the business. So you're thinking where you're going.
That's kind of my problem. I'm not very good at thinking local. I just jump straight in, and I'm like, how can I make this an international success? I don't know whether it's, again, blind faith, optimism, or complete arrogance, but I'm a dreamer.
Yeah.
And I love ideas, and I don't like limitations.
Yeah.
And the kids don't either. And I suppose that's why I want to harness their, natural lack of limitations.
Yeah.
They have a freedom about the world that I think is fantastic. And it's something we do lose.
Yeah.
We put our own obstacles in place. I can't really do that because, or I shouldn't do that because. And you're like, do you know what? Give it a go. Why not?
What's the saying? Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
Exactly. Yes, it's a mindset,
and it's universal themes you're working on. So kids in sunny countries like Singapore and Dubai need these kind of structures too.
Exactly. And do you know what? They teach it so well. I was in Dubai recently, and I met with some of the schools, and I met with a lot of kind of interested parties over there. And they teach, it's part of the curriculum. It's mandatory that they're learning entrepreneurship from 3.
Wow.
It's incredible. Like, there's schools that just teach entrepreneurship. And it's basically, they tailor the whole curriculum around that, because it is very curriculum aligned. Everything we're teaching, it's not instead of schooling, it's a complement to it. They're doing the English, they're doing maths, they're doing, we're talking about the history of certain products, we're talking about people. And I bring in kind of various entrepreneurs that would have maybe additional learning needs when they were in school, or neurodivergence, and they're celebrated. And suddenly the kids are really proud of, I had a student recently said, I've got dyslexia, as if it was, and one of the kids besides said, as if, I don't. But that this was her superpower, because I said, the ability to see things that we don't get to see yet. I said, look at you, this is really interesting.
Thinking differently.
Yeah, I said, lots of different brains work differently. I said, even adults, we've various learning styles. You all have various learning styles. I said, I'm a more visual learner. Someone else might listen to things and they will engage more with them. Someone else might read it. You just need to respect that people are different. And, the entrepreneurship club gives them that opportunity to be themselves and do things in their own way.
And so how does it actually work? I mean, you have schools that are clients, is it? And then maybe one day a week there's a young entrepreneur club in that school that you go in and facilitate?
Exactly.
Is that how it works?
So each day of the week I'm in a school, and I go in at maybe 2:45, 3 o'clock, take the class. The parents would then pay me, so they would, as if they were doing hockey on a Tuesday or basketball on a Wednesday, they're doing the Young Entrepreneurs Club on a Thursday.
Exactly,
it's a different kind of extracurricular activity. So if a kid's not into sport, it's an alternative, because a lot of them are sport focused.
Very sport heavy,
Yeah. And they get something out of it. They love, they're like, I might make money at the fair. Yeah. And even the experience of making their signs and their posters. But so we go into after schools. Again, I found, it's just me at the moment. Yeah. Which is interesting.
That's my next question. How do you, what's your plans for expansion?
I have 2 teachers training with me at the moment. And they're fantastic, because I will be away for 1 week. And I've been panicking since September about this 1 week at the end of February. But they are brilliant, and I'm delighted that I'll be leaving them in charge, so they've been coming in and seeing...
You're in safe hands.
Yeah, they've been seeing that it's not really about the curriculum, it's about the integrity of the delivery. It's the fun, it's the atmosphere, it's finding that child who's that bit quiet and meeting them where they're at and bringing them just a little bit outside of their comfort zone, just to push them, but to a place where they still feel safe. But it's the environment. So I'm going to the after school clubs, but again, I found that I wasn't able to access children as much, or I had parents getting in touch saying, I can't get into the one in school. Is there any other option? I said, okay, right. Created the app. So the app is available internationally, which is great. And the kids, so it's basically like a multiple choice.
So sorry now,
question.
I'm going
on a tangent, as I always do.
No, it's all good. It's good stuff. The leap from primary school teacher to app development, that's a big enough thing.
I got a lot of help. Got a lot of help. Yes. No, I did get an app developer, which was great. For the online software, I'm doing that myself, and that's fascinating.
Yeah. There's a totally different skill set.
It's totally different skill set, yes. But it's one that's accessible now, I have to say. But the app was definitely, I was panicking a little bit, and I thought, hang on, I have a lot of parents contacting.
And the logic for this is, you said, okay, well, I'm onto something here. There's demand for this.
Yeah.
it's only me. I need to
Exactly.
get more tools.
And the demand was great. And I've gotten lovely testimonials from parents. And I have, I had one parent who said, we love you and we hate you, because the club went live to sign up for the club in our school went live at 9.
Right.
And by 9:02, the WhatsApp was happening. Did you get in? Did you get in? Apparently it's full. So she said it booked up in 1 minute. And I was like, oh,
It's
that's nice to know.
The nightclub with the velvet rope.
What about all these other kids?
Generate a queue outside.
Yeah. So yeah, the app gives them
exclusivity.
access to that. And also, we've set up a podcast where the kids will be interviewing the entrepreneurs. So, I'm kind of branching out in lots of different directions, because I found the after school club, it's great. It's one thing. I am recruiting at the moment to get people on board that might like to work for an hour a day.
Yeah.
So if anyone's interested.
Yeah. Wait, so teachers who might, primary school
go.
teachers are finished and they might have an hour to get some extra income as well.
Absolutely. Yoga or Pilates instructors that may have worked with kids, they've been coming to me. Secondary school teachers, who said, would you do it for secondary schools? I said, okay, fantastic. Carers, there's people who I didn't expect were coming to me. And I thought, this is great, because I did put out a kind of call for anyone interested. And I'm just getting such an interesting variety of people that are interested in it. So, yeah.
And where do you lie on, there'll be a plane, I guess, of being really into your work and the rewarding thing of working with kids, and the commercial ambition to have a really good business and turn a profit and have a good life for yourself.
I have to say
what are the key drivers for yourself?
That's the byproduct. The kind of global ambition is kids focused. Yeah. I want this to be accessible to as many kids as possible. Delighted that it will have a commercial profit based outcome. Wonderful. But it is driven, the drive behind it is to access these kids.
That's what gives you your kick.
Exactly. There's, the jobs that kids are going to be doing in the future don't exist yet.
Yeah.
Predominantly. I think there was a statistic, 85% of the jobs. That's probably changing all of the time. But how do you educate kids for jobs that don't exist yet? We need innovators. We need people who are adaptable to changing circumstances. COVID landed on us, climate change. How are we going to then adapt and think outside the box? We need what we're formerly seen as soft skills.
Yeah.
Suddenly essential. We need people to work together.
Ability to make someone feel good.
Yes.
All of that.
Yeah, it seems so simple, but it's getting harder, especially with the screen time, as you said, the anti-social media, some people refer to it, they're sitting there beside each other, sending each other reels. I'm going, show them? No? Okay.
Just
or talk to them, or tell them a story, or tell them a joke rather than show them a joke. Just an idea. So those soft skills are starting to wane. So bringing back, having the resilience to try something, try again. I always say to the kids, it's an experiment. Think of it like science, and one of the kids making slime, and I say, how did you get on? Oh, it's very watery, it's all over our carpet. I thought, oh God, sorry to the mums and dads. But then they come back in, and I said, well, how did it go? What are you going to do next time? Rather than give up. Yeah. And they say, oh, it's like a concrete block now. I'm like, okay, so what's next?
There's a middle ground. Yeah.
Exactly. But they learn that experimentation is a positive thing, and they learn from each step of it. It's not a mistake, it's a learning opportunity. I used to have on the wall, the acronym FAIL, first attempt in learning.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all it is. It's a draft to the final piece.
Yeah. Well, to go back to my daughter's experience at this parent-teacher meeting in junior infants, her teacher was talking about what a good thing it was for girls in particular to get involved in team sports, because they can be very hard on themselves when they make mistakes with their homework or their spelling or their maths. But if you're in a team sport or individual sport, you have to make mistakes, and getting used to that a bit, that realization that I'll only get better if I make loads and loads and loads of mistakes.
Exactly. It dilutes the pressure as well.
A lot of adults haven't copped onto that yet, so trying to get that at an early age is crucial.
But you know what? That perfectionism, that hard on yourself concept is coming in earlier. I stood in front of a classroom with a bag of peas. Okay, and I said, guess how many's in it? And the amount of kids, it could have been from 7, 8, 9, said, oh, I'd get it wrong. Of course you're going to get it wrong. I'm going to get it wrong.
So what?
Unless you're going to sit out and count the peas. We're all going to get it wrong. That's okay. Let's take a random guess. Okay, an educated guess. There isn't one, there isn't a million.
Yeah.
Somewhere in between. So it was just interesting to see their approach to it. And I always do these random activities, it's very strange really, but things like standing in front of kids with a bag of peas, but it's their approach to life that I want to help with. It's there. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to make a mistake. Sometimes I need them to teach me because I'm pretty bad at that, and I always have been. I love taking up sports, but if I'm not great at, I'm like, oh, right.
Yeah.
And I've had to teach myself that. Okay, you're joining a tennis club to enjoy it. You got to enjoy it.
Yeah.
You're not expected to be the best.
Yeah.
And I'm here talking to myself, kind of go, come on now.
Start smiling.
Start smiling, enjoy it. Doesn't matter if you lose, it's grand. But I face something with a new approach thanks to them. They inspire me most of the time, and I wear their stuff because it reminds me of them. It reminds me of the story behind it, the quiet child who made something. And then, suddenly their peers were all over them going, oh, could you make one for me? Can I order one? And you can just nearly see them physically grow in confidence. Yeah. It's an amazing experience. It's such a privilege to be a part of their journey at such formative years.
Well, back to my nephew who got a 3D printer for Christmas for a birthday.
Brilliant.
And was selling his wares in the class until another guy in the class got a 3D printer and undercut him on price.
Oh,
and then they're
competition.
all on competition. Yeah, so
love
this is outside of your kind of structures, but
I love it.
And he really took this challenge head on.
Excellent.
I think. Yeah.
Because that's life.
Yeah.
And I love that, And even, there was somebody who wanted to do mystery boxes where they kind of wrap something up very pretty and you don't know what's inside. So you're buying it with the chance element. And I said, ooh, surprise and scarcity. You're on a winner here. Yeah. But then someone else did it and they said, but that's what I'm doing. And I said, yeah, but there's more than one place to buy a brownie in Dublin.
Yeah.
So you got to use that concept. So what are you going to do with regards to your pricing or your packaging or your marketing? And we make ads as well. So they video ads. Exactly. Yeah. So how are you going to show that your one's either better or different? You don't have to say better because your friends are right beside you and they're making them, but just different.
Yeah. To stick with yourself now. So you obviously get a great kick about being in that learning environment. If the business grows, you may have less time to do that.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Are you struggling with that? Or
I am a bit. And, I know it's early days to be talking about scaling it, but we've always been at that stage. And I would be afraid that growth might dilute the authenticity of the delivery. And, someone had talked to me early days about franchising it. I said, oh, God, I don't know. I mean, it seems to make sense if I'm going to spread it out to various countries, but at the same time, I love being a part of it. I know I can't physically be a part of everyone's journey, and that's why I need to scale it. But it is definitely an area I'm struggling with, even with recruitment. I didn't want to put it out there. Why? That was on me. Yeah. I was afraid a little bit of people wouldn't want to work for an hour a day, but also B, that, it's not me delivering it. And without sounding like the USP, I don't know. I love having people in with me now, and I'm growing in confidence with that and seeing they're brilliant. Yeah. Look, people are brilliant. And maybe I was a bit self-conscious about the whole program, even though I know it's good, but...
You're breaking cover with it. And
exactly, yeah. And when you have another adult in the room, it's funny teaching because they see the ridiculous side of you. Yeah. The woman who's in with me at the moment, and she just sees what an absolute child I am. Right. And I go off on these tangents, and even the kids are saying, Miss Carroll, you've gone off on a tangent again. And it's lovely. Yeah. We have a good laugh about it.
But then I guess to grow it, you're going to have to find really good people that you've great faith in to recreate that magic that
exactly.
you feel
That's
you've been given to the kids. Yeah.
Recreating the magic. That's exactly the phrase. Yeah. So if anyone's out there and wants to help recreate the magic,
call to action.
My call to action, yeah.
But I mean, there's tens of thousands of teachers out there, I'm sure, who are bright and creative and looking for something to sink their teeth into. So hopefully there's a good home in that. And then you talked about the international expansion. Like, how serious are you about that at this stage? Would you want to get everything rocking in Ireland first fully, or are you going to...
I'm not great at that. Yeah. I do actually have I was out in Dubai for a working week in October, and I'm going out to Singapore and Dubai in April, which will be a follow-on from that. And even... I've got some wonderful contacts out
these
there.
Kind of Irish teachers in these international type schools, or how have you cracked into those kind of networks?
I suppose I haven't really gotten into the networks of that side. It's more EI, Middle East kind of people, venture capitalists that are interested, that said, this is the environment to be doing this, which is fantastic. And their belief in the programme, and they suggest kind of getting into various schools.
Because the resources are top class in these types of schools?
Exactly. Or, there's Ministry for Educations in both places that are saying, this is something we could apply here, whether it's a complement to their own programs or an addition thing that the kids could be doing aside at home. The model I'm bringing online will be a subscription-based package that the kids will just log into their own profile, continue their activities, so that'll be an international opportunity. So very serious.
You mentioned EI there and the kind of VC world. Have you, on your kind of business growth and development journey, have you got very decent supports to help you along the way?
Not yet, but that'll be fun. I look forward to that. Yeah. Sorry, I've gotten great support with the side of kind of mentorship, but I've done a lot of courses.
Yeah,
I haven't gotten any financial support. That's that's fine for now. I'm sure that that'll come at a later stage when we go to scale it properly. But the people involved are lovely. I go to a lot of the events. I do a lot of their courses. So I'm engaging with all of those.
It can be a lonely journey.
Yes.
So having that is very important.
Definitely. And I would find that the biggest challenge. And I think that finding co-working environments is essential. Because I do miss my colleagues. I really do. We had great fun.
The staff room's gone now.
Staff room's gone. The staff room were, such close friends because you see them every day. You're working together. You're understanding the various things you're going through. You're going through it together and you're having a bit of a laugh.
Difficult parents.
Difficult parents have a bit of a giggle. Moments, though, that bring you joy. You get a child who did something that couldn't do it before and you get to share that and they understand how much that hits you.
Yeah.
And you can kind of send them up to the principal and say, show her what you did. And the principal will give them a star and their copy. And it's just, you're all a part of this lovely, warm, fuzzy moment.
Yeah.
So I do. I miss that.
My 4-year-old came home with a certificate for being best that week at washing his hands.
Brilliant.
And he was
lovely.
Chest puffed out. He couldn't believe
it's the little things that mean so much, It's massive to them.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You got to realise, they're such impressionable, gorgeous little people. And you got to respect that, take care of them, And I hope that that's what's remembered of me. We talked earlier about people having negative impacts from things said to them. I just want that kids felt supported, loved, cared for in my environment and that they felt empowered maybe and, that their creativity was respected, their voice was listened to, their ideas were encouraged.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
And that's what you're kind of looking for in the VC world eventually to scale your business. You need,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's great. Apart from international expansion, any big goals you have in mind, or have you you're an ideas person, you have another business in mind? Or
do you know what?
Are you still stuck deep in the weeds of this?
I feel like I'm standing in the middle of the Walkinstown roundabout and every time I look there's a new exit,
Right.
So it started with the after school clubs. Then I thought, well, hang on, I have enough after school clubs, if I can only do one a day.
Yeah.
What am I doing during the day? I'll go to the schools with an in-school workshop program. Okay, I could do that. So it became that. Then it became the app. Then it became, podcast. So we're going to get the kids to interview the entrepreneurs, which is just adorable, by the way. One question might be, so what's your profit margin? And the next might be, do you like ice cream? And it's just gorgeous. So I thought this has to be recorded. We had Bobby Curran and the girls from Bonor, Elaine and Nicola,
right.
and the questions they were being asked were just gold. They were fabulous.
It's like School Around the Corner back in the day
really
on TV.
Is.
Yeah.
It is. And I've had some amazing entrepreneurs sign up to do it. So we're starting recording once I get back from a bit of a nomad trip.
Go on, sickness, and tell us where you're going.
So it's a bunch of 300 digital nomads, entrepreneurs going on a cruise from Hong Kong around Brunei, Malaysia, 2 stops in Vietnam and then off to the Philippines.
Being an entrepreneur is such a slog.
It is. Do you know what it's going to be? It's a full agenda.
Yeah.
It is
It's all
back
workshops
to back.
and-
It is workshops. And do you know what? They're really valuable workshops.
It'll be a dry cruise now. There won't be any crack happening.
I'm sure they'll be great. There's a great Gatsby party. There's a
Okay.
Carnival party. There's a 90s party. So it's a lot of fun as well.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of how to optimize AI, how to, get your LinkedIn to work for you, understanding investments, real estate as a digital nomad, and then of course there's bachata classes, salsa classes, so they do pair it up with a bit of fun.
Cool.
It is about creating that international connections and they've been brilliant for this whole experience.
Yeah. That's amazing. We'll enjoy that now
Thank you.
in the
Yeah.
depths of our horrible
Looking
Irish
forward
winter
to that.
here.
I know, it's a good time to go. Yeah.
Unbelievably well timed. Well, Susan, that's been really interesting. It's a really important area you're working on. It's got to be incredibly rewarding. And if half the people working in jobs had, or a fraction of the people had the satisfaction you get out of your job, I'm sure the world would be a much happier place.
I'm very lucky. Very lucky. I do what I love.
Well, you've made your own luck. You've saw an opportunity and went for it. So congratulations on
Thank you
success
very
to
much.
date. Look, can't wait to see what happens with it in the future. And hopefully at some stage it's part of the core curriculum and not just relying on people like you to do it.
It would be brilliant. I'd love that. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well,
Onwards and upwards.
Thanks, Susan. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much for tuning into that episode. I think Susan's working in a really important area that's only going to grow and grow in the future. So we wish her the best of luck with everything. To find more episodes of the Growing Further podcast, please check out growingfurther.io or wherever you get your podcasts.